be a few changes.
I don't have that. That's coming up later this afternoon, that race. I think it's Schemp and Pfeiffer, and Dahlmeier's in there as well. So the Germans will be taking the mixed relay very, very seriously, as, of course, it's a good team with Hintz and Roman Rees. What a contrast for them. For the last month, they've been racing in darkness. Of course, the first night here in the sprint races, they raced in darkness. This will be a positive feeling today, at least to get some daylight.
And Finland with Minkinen and Gronman, so they've really focused on the mixed relay. I wonder whether that's the smartest move. And it's interesting, isn't it, Mike? I mean, Austria have definitely said, right, this is the one we can win, because Hauser streaks ahead of the next best woman in the Austrian team, and so that's fair enough. Kazakhstan, have they got a chance? They did so well in Östersund, finishing third. They've got Vishnevskaya this time racing with Vitenko.
It's okay team, of course. Vishnevskaya came 25th in the sprint yesterday. That's a good result, and 47th for Vitenko, missing 2 targets, so it's not a bad team at all.
So Hintz and Rees teamed up together. Both of them limited races in the Olympic Games. Both of them did the sprint, actually, and that was it as far as their Olympic programme went, so lightly raced. As for France, we've got Anaïs Chevalier, as you can see, who comes from Villard-de-Lans, alongside Antonine Guiganard, and they did exactly the same, just raced the sprints, neither of them having a particularly good day out in Pyeongchang. The Russians, well, they've got plenty of fans, and the fans delighted to see Anton Shapulin on such good form. There's a lineup that's going to be tough to beat. Olsbu and Johannes Tingesbo. Now, Olsbu is quick, so they've ski time. I think Norway are streaks ahead. Vitkova and Morovets, actually, they're pretty sharp when they're on form, but Morovets not so good. Vitkova, of course, picking up a medal in the sprint. Olympic Games sprint.
At the sprint. And because of this, 3 spare rounds for your pro and shoot, the 3 spare rounds in the stand, you can take a lot of risk in this race. Such a short, sharp race.
So the second mixed relay, or single mixed relay, about to get underway. Can Austria make it 3 wins in a row? They won here last year. They won in Östersund at the beginning of this season. A big yawn coming in from Galina Vishnevskaya. Not a bad thing, actually, because that stretches the lungs. And it's a normal physiological reaction to a pre-race situation. It doesn't mean she didn't get any sleep last night. 26 teams. Great Britain at the back wearing bib number 25. Austria 1, Germany 2, Kazakhstan 3. The positions they finished in Östersund. It's been a long, long hold. And at last, they're underway. The single mixed relay. And Austria looking to win a crystal globe today. If they win, they'll certainly do that. And if they finish second and Germany finish first, how do they split that? We've already had one shared globe this year, the individual shared between Martin Fourcade and Johannes Tingesbo.
If that were the case, I'd love to see them have a shootout. So just one lap of 1.5 shoot, hand over, then another lap of 1.5. For me, that would figure it out slightly better. You can see how flat this is, of course, Patrick. Here's the bridge. They'll carry most of the momentum up this bridge, which at times can feel quite difficult. And then it's a drop-off down here, flat section, followed by the only downhill section after the second bridge, I beg your pardon. Then bear to the right, drop down, and quite a fast left-hander. I think we saw last year, we saw a number of the athletes falling on this quite simple left-hander coming up.
Well, Vishnevskaya setting a fairly stiff pace out of the start, and everyone following without too much of a problem, but the fact that they're spread out in a long, long line, a good indication of the pace that the Kazakh has set off at. And she's got Marta Olsbu right on her tail. Sweden easy to pick out. Mona Bråsen racing for Sweden, wearing number 5 in the yellow suit. an apology for yellow, I think. And then we've got Vavinets of Ukraine on the left-hand side. She's teamed up with Chisenko. Other teams we haven't mentioned, Belarus with Alimbakeva and Smolsky. Japan, Mike, this is their race. Fuku Takizaki with Makito Takizaki. And Fuku certainly showing some good form in the sprint race.
And I think for Japan, I know there's a lot of frustration because Japan, almost by mistake, let themselves drop out of the top 22 nations in the world. And that really restricts you these days in international biathlon, so they want to show good here today, and that's why I love this race as well. It allows Japan, a small team now in biathlon, the opportunity, and of course the husband and wife team racing today. Amanda Lightfoot's done well. She's moved from that back grid, she's moved up a few places. Difficult to get through the traffic.
Yeah, and often you say it's not worth the effort of fighting your way through before the first shoot. There'll be much more space after the first shoot, as some are on the penalty loop and others aren't. But to start with, you use more energy, and the risk of coming in for that first shoot is then very much higher.
It puts you in a stress scenario, trying to battle through. But look at this, it's such a short lap. It's only 1.5 kilometers. They'll shoot prone, they'll ski it again, go round a small penalty loop, 60 meters, if there's any mistakes made. And then back round the same track again before the shoot stand, and then hand over after any penalty loops. And
as all of you who watch biathlon regularly will know, they go into the lane that corresponds with their bib number, so we should see those down on lane 26-27 rising first. Good shooting from the Russians, 3 out of 3. That's who the crowd are responding to. Ukraine very quick. Vavinets clears 5 without any trouble. Kazakhstan have gone clear as well, and we've got problems in the early stages for Austria. 2 misses from Hauser.
Hauser, her shooting used to be so good, and since she first came on the World Cup this year, she's lost her way on the rifle.
Slovakia on the penalty loop, Poland on the penalty loop, Great Britain and Amanda Lightfoot on the penalty loop, and there goes their chance of finishing in the top 20. Not 1 but 2 penalties from Amanda Lightfoot. That's a really
3 penalties.
Oh, that's a depressing start.
Unfortunately, when you're lapped in this race, you're pulled out, so that's the worst possible start. Poor Amanda, it just hasn't gone well there today.
Well, a lot of skiing to do now. 3 penalty loops, 450 meters, and one person particularly who'll be unhappy is your lad, Scott Dixon. He's watching that from the stands with the sides of his mouth down by his shoulders somewhere.
Well, with a 2:40 lap and now 3 penalty laps for not just Amanda. A number of the teams have other teams have also gone on the penalty loop. So yes, there's a real risk of being lapped now and pulled out of the race. What a pity.
Now you find something positive in everything. That might push you a little.
I'm struggling. I'm struggling right now. Well, that looks like the American team.
Susan Dunkley, yeah, we didn't give them a mention. And of course, with Susan's ski speed, and it does seem to be improving, Mike. What a dire season it's been for her. After last year, where she was one of the best shots in the standing position, this year she's not been able to hit anything. And the ski speed that got her out of trouble so many times has vanished. We saw in the sprint event that it's coming back, but far too late.
It's a pity, and sometimes biathlon works like that. When you want something so much, you want an Olympic medal so much, you can overtrain in the summer, you can push it too hard, you stress too much, but now Susan's got freedom and back to her best. And I think with Lo Bailey on the second leg, or partnered with Lo Bailey, this could be a medal-winning team here today.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Lo Bailey just looking for his position in the sprint. Sean Doherty finished 35. I thought he was higher than that. He was 16th, having shot 0-1, so he's not far off the mark either, and would have had a top 5 had he gone clear. So Dunkley trying to hurt those following her.
Just looking down the list, 21 of the teams shot, 22 teams shot the perfect, well, shot 5 of the targets down, I should say, and 1, 2, 3 teams, 4, 5 teams having been on the penalty loop once, and sadly Amanda 3 times around the penalty loop, so detached by some 30 seconds.
Now when they finish their next shoot, they go straight into the exchange box and hand over to the their partner.
Or after any penalties.
After any yeah. Nice point. Nice point. I'm assuming that Susan Dunkley's not going to get any penalties. I hope with her ski speed comes her shooting form. And for many, that's often the case, that, you know, once you're really fit at the absolute prime of your season, your recovery rate's so much quicker that the standing shoot becomes easier. A little bit of breeze to think about. And Dunkley now going all the way up to lane 1. Don't forget, she zeroed in lane 19, so quite a big difference there.
That does change things, and of course the left side of range, if you zero down there, it's fine, but it's certainly more protected down on the far left of the range.
And if she hands over to Lowell Bailey in first place, he'll be in lane 1 as well, or
yes,
there or thereabouts.
Generally the flags from the left. Lowell Bailey, though, 16th, I mentioned earlier, yesterday, 2 days ago. He's on form, he's back on form. Susan missing the middle shot and the fourth shot.
Norway with Osbu trying to make a bit of a comeback. Ukraine have 1 left. All the top 6 teams missing. It's Japan and Takizaki who go clear first. That's great shooting from them, and sets them up for a really good race. Dunkley's in trouble. She's got 1 shot left and 1 target remaining. Monnier of France, a little struggle to get the rifle back on her back. Norway are clear with 2, and it's a penalty loop for Dunkley. It just didn't pay off. Austria, only 1 mistake this time round, so Hauser's back in contention. Estonia are there as well, and penalty loops for Finland. A big groan coming from the crowd. 2 penalty loops for Latvia, and actually Finland, I think, they've got 2 as well. So that's not a good start, but they've put most of their eggs into the mixed relay later on today rather than the single mixed.
Well, this is going to be an exciting relay because there's so much is happening on the range, so many penalties being picked up in the stand. Susan Dunkley leading in, picking up 1 penalty, and has now exchanged in 14th position, but only 27 behind. So the gaps in this race, you can pull a lot of time back by getting those 5 out of 5, not dipping into the spare rounds, and a very short penalty loop.
Well, we're still on the first leg, exchange just taking place, as you can see, and we've already had 3 different teams leading the way. Kazakhstan, Ukraine, and USA, and that's Ukraine leading the way ahead of Japan. Now, do you think Takizaki has got what it takes to stay in the top 3 on this first lap?
I think he has. He didn't race 2 days ago. I don't know why, whether there was a health issue, but he's fresh-legged, and he'll be well up for this challenge.
Well, he's looking very comfortable on the skis, and a good chase coming in from Christian Gau, who's racing with Rosanna Crawford. We didn't give her a mention. Rosanna, 2 spare rounds required already. Japan, I think they're the only team that haven't missed a target so far, which is a fantastic effort from them.
Just trying to have a look where Norway handed over on the exchange, with Johannes Tingesbo going 2nd. There he is, in 4th place, slowly cruising forward. Handed over in 9th, he's up to 4th already.
Sanfilippo handed over to Bormolini for the Italian team, and he's just in front of Johannes Tingesbo. And now the ski preparation, what are you going to do? You've got some, 10 minutes maximum to get prepared?
Oh, it's very little you can do. Just put a little bit of powder on, brush it in. You haven't time to, I don't think you're allowed actually to iron it in. You can just brush the skis. The snow's quite clean though, so you're not picking up much dirt, which slows the glide factor down.
Tashenko looking very, very comfortable at the pace he's setting. The USA, who are leading into the last shoot, have dropped all the way down to 14th and find themselves, they were 27 seconds behind when we last saw them. So Lowell Bailey with a bit of work to do.
Everybody, Patrick, will be respecting the wind flags. They saw the troubles that the women had, especially in the stand, but have a look at the flags. They've dropped a little kinder now for the prone position.
It's quite an open range compared to many. Japan, 1 miss. That's their first mistake of the day. And Gao of Canada hits 5 out of 5. So our 4th leader. I think we could see 8 different teams leading this race. But the one that matters is the one that crosses the line first. And Norway haven't had their turn at the front, but they're only some 25, 30 metres off the leaders. Out come Canada with a train of athletes behind them. Japan's still hanging in there. Good start so far from the USA. Bailey recovering after those mistakes from Susan Dunkley on her first lap. And Mike, Korea are doing great.
Well, is it Korea or is it Russia? They're both
well,
Russian athletes.
Suit yourself, yeah.
But no, of course, they're racing for Korea, but 2 Russians. Czech Republic taking a lot of time there. More of it struggling. And 1 penalty loop.
Oh, that's a bad mistake. Lots of noise from the fans. That means either the Finns or the Russians have done something spectacular, as we have a look at Roman Rees's target. You can see the miss, high left, what, 10:30, 11 o'clock? One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. Say that again. 140.
Sorry, 132.
Welcome back to Kontiolahti, and you've just seen the figure of Johannes Tingesbo go through. So that is team number 6 in front. Norway taking a lead, and Johannes Ting is absolutely destroying them at the moment.
Johannes loves this type of skiing. Just a couple of bridges, let's be honest, 3 small climbs, and then it's this flat terrain. He comes in quite fast, rapid fire for his 5 prone. He'll probably do the same in the stand.
Only 15 seconds separating the top 10 teams after the 3rd shoot of 8, and Austria, the defending champions from here in Kontiolahti, are 15 seconds back in 10th, just ahead of USA and Sweden. Korea have dropped a little with the last shoot. Lapshin now down in 13th place, and Latvia 14, Slovenia 15. Any of the big nations out of contention?
Czech Republic, that was surprising. More of it's on the penalty loop. He's such a good shot. Normally he tried to rush it, and he put himself on the penalty loop.
Right, what are we going for? Rapid fire from Johannes Tinges? Or
yes,
will it be a controlled?
I think rapid fire. He's got 3 spare chances.
Well, he rushed 4. No doubt there was less time between 3 and 4 than there was between 4 and 5. But that's only about 6 seconds, but took for reloading, re-aiming, and getting the target down. That is a fantastic shoot from Johannes Tinges. But that 1 missed shot did allow Austria, Russia, Ukraine to stay within the 15-second mark. We'll get a readout as they go through the 2nd exchange. And now Olsbu finds herself in front. A very different psychology from her first lap.
I must say, Scott, on his first lap, he only lost, in fact, it was 4 seconds to the fastest on that leg. So he did shoot 5 out of 5. So the British team still there or thereabouts. Just, 5 seconds to Bulgaria.
But work to do. Down in 25th position at the moment. Germany down in 8th, 18 seconds. So a slight stretch of the field between the 3rd and the 4th shoot. Italy down in 9. Kazakhstan, who were 3rd in Östersund, down in 10. Only 22 behind, so plenty of opportunity for things to change. Penalty loops, Mike, we've seen a few of the teams up in the top 15. America have done one, and Switzerland have done one.
Czech Republic will begin soon. This was so controlled. He saw the window of kind wind. He saw that opportunity and then decided to shoot fast. Carried it off very, very well.
Yeah, shame for Norway that Johannes Tingis didn't have a loop to ski to take advantage of that shooting and extend his lead up to 15 seconds. As it is, Olsbu is still under a lot of pressure. Japan having a fantastic day. They're in second place, and if anything, their women's leg with Fuku Takizaki is the strongest.
It's great, and that's why I really said it before. Love this race. It allows other nations to have a chance.
So what do we got? 7 teams within 12 seconds. Then there's a little bit of a gap, only 5 or 6 seconds. Then back to Germany, who are trying to get back in contention. Hintz, Rees, and they're shooting. They've only required 3 spares. Norway have already used 5, but find themselves in front. That's the advantage of having 2 athletes who can ski a bit. Japan still the best team in terms of shooting, with just 1 spare round required. And Canada doing exceptionally well. They've only required 2.
In Östersund, the first World Cup of the season, the Austrian team only used 2 spare rounds. They both came from Lisa Theresa Hauser. Eder got all his 20 shots from 20 bullets.
And they've already used 4 today, or is it? Yeah, they've used 4 already. Winning time last year was 31:35. That was the Austrians with 5 spare rounds, and they were on that occasion equal best in terms of shooting with the Americans, who finished second ahead of Germany. Dalmar and Rees on that occasion. So Olsbu, I think, Mike, easing up, because I'm slightly surprised to see she hasn't extended her lead. She was 4.6 clear of Japan coming out. I think that chasing group have pushed the pace quite hard, so it'll be interesting to see whether Olsbu can capitalise on being, what I'm assuming is, slightly fresher than the rest.
Well, that's what I thought. She may have extended that up by another 5 seconds, taking it to 11, 12 seconds. But clearly, she's putting the importance on the shooting.
Her first prone shoot was not good. At least she now knows where they went. This is better. Spoke too soon. Ukraine with 3 down, but 1 mistake. France yet to miss a target. They've got 5 out of 5, and it's their turn to take the lead. Austria are coming back. Hauser, who completely messed up her first prone, has done well, and Olsbu still on the firing point. That's 3 shots she's had at that 1 target. She'll be starting to think someone stuck it up there.
Johannes will be so disappointed. The hard work and the great shooting he's put in Norway on the penalty loop. 3 chances to get that spare round. That's what happens when you begin to panic and tighten up. Well, Johannes has got his work cut out now.
It's made it very, very tough for him. What's he going to be, 25? No, he's going to be over 30 seconds behind. Olsbu absolutely flying round the loop, and now she has no option but to push 100% to try and get back in contention. But that could prove to be a very, very expensive mistake. Look at that, from the lead to 30 seconds behind and down in 8th place. Well, it's all change in the single mixed relay, and for the first time today, the French have the lead, and Anaïs Chevalier on her last lap, and she'll be handing over after her next standing shoot. 21 minutes on the clock, so we've got about 10 minutes of racing left to go. Varvignette's starting to look a little bit tired, Mike, getting stuck on that right-hand ski.
Yes, it's a different race. They only do this race, what, a couple of times a season, and it's like short sprints. You've got to sprint for the 2 minutes 40 into the range, shoot prone, sprint again, 2:40, shoot stand, penalty loops, hand over. So it's, and then you've got a rest after that, do the same again. It's an unusual format.
Yeah, I must admit, you've sold it to me. It's definitely an event that's growing on me, but I would question, should this be the event that's in the Olympics and the World Championships rather than the mixed relay where you have 2 men and 2 women?
You know, I like this, and I'm sure with it being, it's been around now for what, 5, 6 seasons, we're seeing more of these races. I hope it goes to the World Championships eventually, and then of course they'll put it towards an Olympic accredited race. There's Amanda, she's just coming out, just checking her shooting.
So she's now a full lap behind, 100 metres, and Great Britain in danger of being lapped here in Kontiolahti. And that's a shame, because Scott was shooting okay, Scott Dixon, and Amanda Lightfoot has had problems. She's done 4 penalty laps. Now, what are we going to see from Anaïs Chevalier?
Composure from Anaïs. She's just got the rifle supported comfortably. Can't really feel much tension within that hold, or the whole expression is relaxed.
85% so far hit rate.
Beautiful.
She pushes that up a fraction of a percentage point with a 5 out of 5. Hauser had a real chance of getting onto France's heels, but that one missed shot is going to cost her at least 8 seconds. Japan stay up in the top 3. Great shooting from Takizaki, and she gets out of the range before the Austrians. Now Kazakhstan, Canada, Russia, all shooting the perfect score, and Olsbu's gone perfect, having done a penalty loop on the prone, Mike, so that's a bit of a comeback. After the 5th shoot, Norway were down in 8th position, and they were some 30.5 seconds behind. They could have closed that to under 15. We'll see in a moment as they come through the exchange.
Well, the race is still very much wide open. Johannes Tingesbo at 29.4 behind. He has the chance to pull that back, I think, certainly to a podium, possibly for a win.
So Germany eventually getting the targets down. Not quite sure what went wrong in the latter stages of that shoot for Vanessa Hintz. She got the first 3 down without any trouble at all. Korea, they were right up there at the start, but now are going to find themselves at least 55 seconds, probably closer to a minute, off the race leaders France. 23:27 on the clock, 1 lap to go, or 1 leg to go. So 2 shoots, but this time the men do 3 laps.
That's right, so they ski around the 1.5, the shoot pro, and they ski again around the 1.5 shoot stand, but for the last time, so they ski a total of 1.5 further than the women to close the race off.
Now, I'm assuming that Johannes Tinges can close that 29 seconds. Question is, will he try and do it bit by bit, or will he try and do it on the very first lap?
I think he'll try and close it as quickly as he can to give himself that early chance.
Antonin Giganov really came to our attention when he got on the podium in Le Grand Bonnard in the sprint event there, shooting the perfect score. He beat Martin Fourcade to it. That was one of the best World Cups of the season so far, Mike. Fantastic atmosphere. Maybe not quite as many people as we saw in Ruhpolding, but it was the fact that everyone was out around the tracks. The tracks were nice and compact, very technical, and there's no doubt that they made a very good case to the IBU to having an annual, or if not annual, biannual biathlon.
Without a doubt. I'd love to see it going there on an annual basis, but remember when it was there 4 years ago, we just had, what, 6,000 in the stands and very few people out in the fields. This time, complete change. They'd really signed up to French biathlon, and of course Martin Fourcade's status has grown so much over the intervening 4 years. he's something of a hero.
Yeah, but don't forget that Duran Hebert has been a superstar in the French biathlon as well. So there's a pull on both the men and the women's.
Amanda's just in shooting there beside Lithuania. I think she'll be pulled out. That's a real pity.
Can't afford to miss targets. You certainly can't afford to do penalty loops in the relays, unless it's Oberhof, where just about every team does a penalty loop. Now, Guillemin with a chance to give himself 15-20 seconds to play with.
Guillemin, the tree surgeon, now the sniper.
Johannes Dingesbo just settling in, what's he in, lane 6? So keep an eye on the Norwegian target. One miss from Guillemin, and this is the stage of the race where nerves play a very, very big part.
Johannes has pulled 11 seconds from his 29 deficit. He's pulled that much back in just 1.5 kilometers.
So Ukraine take the lead for the first time today.
Well, Johannes went for the rapid fire. He's exhausted from that sprint. He's now on his spare rounds, missed 2 out of 5.
Yeah, and he's going to go back to 20 seconds down. He gets the last 2 rounds down, but that might cost him. Now he's got to go ballistic to try and get on terms with the leading teams. But it's Ukraine, Canada and Japan. Great racing from Christian Gau of Canada. He's teamed up with Rosanna Crawford. Nice to see Rosanna racing well, and you know, after her performances in Ruhpolding, Mike, we thought she might be someone who came away with a surprise medal in Pyeongchang. That didn't happen. It's
unfortunate. She's got to fall back, of course. 12th yesterday in the sprint competition, missing 1 target. She's really got to form back.
Now, I still think anyone in the top 8 can win this. Eberhardt's got a big job on his hands, but the time is close enough to the leaders for that to change on the final shoot. Question is, what about the nerves of Guillemin?
Well, he's a little unstable there. You can see a lot of movement in the rifle, missing at 5 o'clock.
78% hit rate in the for the season so far. Only raced once at the Olympic Games, so he's not done a whole lot of high pressure shooting for what, 4 or 5 weeks.
He hasn't. He impressed the selectors, as you said, in Annecy, where he made the Olympic team with his great results there. And he's kind of lost his way within the season. Hopefully he can keep his stand shooting together.
And don't forget, he got his second podium in Ruhpolding in the mass start, where I seem to remember he shot the perfect 20 out of 20. He must have done to get on the podium with the sort of ski speed that he generally has. So he coped with the pressure then, but the relay situation is very, very different. And he's got one hungry Anton Shapulin right on his shoulder, who must be favourite to take this now.
Yeah, Shapulin, after shooting 7, he's only 17 seconds behind. Biggest surprise for me, Patrick, it's at 20th position right now, Morovitz in the Czech Republic, 2:34 behind, and really there's no way back from that kind of time deficit.
Norway are 21 seconds behind, having got to within 14.5 on the last lap. Johannes Tingis, is he going through? He used up a lot of reserves on the last shoot, so maybe he's planning on saving something for the final. He needs to shoot in the stand as fast as he did on the first leg he took, but just that fraction more accurate. He could do with 5 out of 5, I think, to give Norway a chance of coming through. The French currently sitting in 4th.
Tishenko, he's done so well. He was only 78th in the sprint, missing just 2 targets, so he's found his magic, but his shooting is keeping Ukraine well and truly well at the front.
So the fastest skiers on this last lap, which we're about to see, certainly Shapulin and Johannes Tingesbo. I think Ukraine's Tishenko needs a good 10 seconds, probably closer to 12-13. And the way to get that, is to clear 5. He's failed. That might be Ukraine's chance. France rattling through the targets with Guigenard.
You just
4 out of 4.
Johannes Tingesbo is going to rattle through here for a victory.
It's got to be super quick because Guigenard's got the last 5 down. That's one of the best shoots we've seen from him. Johannes Ting is shooting fast, but again he misses one. Down it goes. So he's got 25 metres. The race is on. France get away first. 25 metres, actually, that's closer to 50, and it's quite a big time margin. Ukraine, I think, are going to get swallowed up by Norway. What's happened to Anton Shapulin? He was right on the shoulder of the French, but he's lost time on that last shoot.
He was only 10 seconds behind coming into the range.
Yeah, now 16.2, so 1 spare round, costing him another 6 seconds. Takizaki of Japan. Oh, that's a shame. Their total shoot, Mike, 6 spares required. They needed to keep it down at 2 or 3 to have a chance of getting on the podium today.
What about Johannes Tingesbo? Look at the time. He's got 10 seconds to move from 3rd to 1st. And I think he's going to achieve that, even though he's pushed the pace each of the previous 2 laps.
And look who's behind him. Julian Eberhardt. He's no slouch. And if he gets into the slipstream of Johannes Tinges, we could have one of the great battles of the season. Those two, of course, 2 big stars at the World Championships last year. So, France with Guigenard. 3 seconds advantage.
There he is. He's chasing, he's hunting, he's got a fast man behind him as well, of course, with Eberhardt.
But it's a relatively easy lap, Mike. I think if they had to climb the wall at the end of the lap, then we'd be looking at a much closer finish. France look to me to be pretty comfortable at the moment. They're certainly pulling ahead of Ukraine, and I'm not sure that the French aren't holding the gap between themselves and Norway. And Julian Eberhardt is on a flyer.
He certainly is. Johannes Tingesbo, remember, he pulled back 11 seconds on his first lap of 3 laps here, and I think he's burnt his bridges. He seems to have lost his spark.
But he's not going to let Julian Eberhardt go, surely. The one thing he doesn't like is being outskied by someone, so I think we'll see him just tuck in there, but he's hurting, as you say, and a lot of that's because he's had to work so hard to make up for lost time. He started this leg 30 seconds down on the race leaders.
Julian hasn't put his gloves, his hands into his straps, so if Johannes skis over the back of those baskets, one of these poles will pull out of his hands. Let's hope that's not going to happen. But it's the home straight coming up very soon.
Into the stadium for Guigenard, and a 2-kilometre lead. A 2-kilometre lead, a 3-second lead over 2 kilometres has proved to be adequate for France. And Austria, who won in Östersund, have gone and finished 2nd here. So that means they take the single mixed relay crystal globe. We should see a celebration from Julian Eberhardt. And Johannes Tingesbo is absolutely exhausted. That doesn't bode well for the mass start tomorrow. But racing in the single mixed, he gets an extra 2 hours rest.
He'll look at every positive. He wasn't the match there for Julian Eberhardt, because I think he took the sting out of his legs earlier on in his many times around this 1.5 kilometre.
Yeah, but he's not wholly to blame, because a penalty loop from Olsbu on the penultimate loop costing them dear. So the French, who won the single mixed relay, the mixed relay at the Olympic Games, take the title here in the single mixed relay in Kontiolahti. So France have really struggled over the years, Mike. We've always highlighted and said on paper this team should finish 1st or 2nd, and they've seldom done it. But over the last 18 months, they've started to get the confidence, and they don't always need the services of Martin Fourcade to win.
No, this race opens up possibilities. You need a decent ski speed. Tushenko showed that. He is not the fastest by any means, and of course he left the 8th shooting in 2nd place, of course, dropping back to 4th. Just 10 seconds off, but it's largely the Ukraine shooting, missing only 5 targets, which has put them in the top 5.
Now, have Sweden's glory days come and gone? They're down in 10th today. They have beaten the Germans, which is always a good scout to take in biathlon. They're so strong in both men and women's, but the Swedes, after their success in Pyeongchang, I think would have been expecting a little bit more. But what a race for France. They take the win ahead of Austria and Norway in 3rd. Julian Eberhardt with Lisa Theresa Hauser. It was a good final leg, and as you might have noticed, Simon Eder being taken out, and Eberhardt going into the Austrian team. No change in strength there. Eder just a bit quicker on the range, but Julian Eberhardt looks to be back to his best ski form.
Very much, and only using 7 spare rounds, the Austrian team, so clearly a good shooting duo there. And yes, Simon Eder, he was on the start list for the sprint, he didn't start. He was on the start list for this one, he didn't start, so maybe it's that gastro issue that is going around a number of the athletes.
Yeah, still no news on the condition of Martin Fourcade. He picked up gastroenteritis when he was at home after the Olympic Games. I think one of his kids suffering. And, you know, you'll appreciate how difficult it is to stay healthy when you're surrounded by toddlers.
Yeah, the germs and bugs, but that's all right. But when you do a lot of travelling and the high of the Olympics, you come back home, you relax, and for once in a long time we're seeing Martin unwell.
2 penalty loops for the Czech Republic, 15 targets missed in all. I think that is not quite the worst shooting record. Finland, 3 penalty loops and 17 targets missed. So some teams finding the conditions pretty tough. The best on the day, Ukraine, with just 5 spare rounds required to clear the targets. Great Britain down in 26th, Mike, not what we wanted today, out of 26 starters, and it all went wrong really on the very first lap.
It creates a kind of a tension, a panic if you're at the back and detached. You really feel bad, but let's hope the next opportunity those targets can go down.
Time perhaps to put all the money into junior level and start again?
That's what needs to happen, and certainly camps are being talked about this summer, and hopefully, I mean, it's a hugely popular sport, so hopefully some sponsorship can come in and create foreign camps, and juniors taking part in the international competitions is a very good start.
Well, there's the back end of the result sheet. 4 teams lapped in the end, and when you only have a 2-kilometre loop, it's pretty tough to stay ahead. You've got, what, 4.5 minutes maximum?
Well,
probably
1.5, isn't it?
So yeah, 1.5, so yeah.
2 minutes 45 loop. Well, French